you said the magic word team. I mean, how do you? I listen to a lot of people that run their own business or manage people or whatever, and there's usually two flavors, right? People talk about their team,
Mhm.
or they talk about their employees.
Mm.
And I think
Welcome to the Warrior Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
so. How are things at work for you?
They're interesting.
Okay.
Well, just like it seems like this happens every year, but we've like brought in some new people at the beginning of the year to do. They may have been doing like part-time things. Now they're doing like more than part-time things. And the good thing is like I've had some reduction of responsibilities
Okay.
in a good way.
Okay. You personally? Okay.
I mean, yeah, at work.
Yeah.
With bringing in somebody who was already like a strategy person for me. Now he's coming in and working, more of a half-time basis to work on specific like messaging and PR
Gotcha.
type stuff that he was already doing, but
Right.
now it's like formalized. My former boss for marketing before I took what is now my role that used to be her role.
Okay.
Sure. She's coming back in and working as like head of research or something like that, because like I kept putting out like I really want to do more research focused marketing, and we can't do that with running marketing and needing somebody to do research anyway. So we're bringing in people that should support what we're doing, but it also like now I've been talking with my team, how do we change things up, because we're also doing things a little bit differently, doing more product anyway. So it's so
complicated.
It's complicated, and and reading what you sent me, and I know that that's a very good setup.
You're stealing my segue. That's okay. You can steal it. I didn't really have one planned.
Well, I mean, like we're going to talk about.
I just know what you do.
Yes, we're going to talk about influence, right?
Yeah. I mean, you said the magic word team. I mean, how do you? I listen to a lot of people that run their own business or manage people or whatever, and there's usually two flavors, right? People talk about their team, or they talk about their employees. And I think those are very different approaches to how you might manage people.
How do I talk about mine?
We said team. You literally said team. I mean, they're not your employees. You're not the.
Oh, I have employees.
Scrooge McDuck that runs everything, but I mean, they report to you. But like thinking about them that way, like my employees or my minions or whatever, versus like this is the team, and we are a team. It's a very different outlook on thing, and I want to kind of explore that team mindset as opposed to the leading with fear of me as your, is your main source of pain. Well,
I think actually I was talking to Win, who you've met when
I remember.
But he's now living in Croatia. Yeah, I have to check every 6 months to see where you're living in. But we were talking about things, and and I was saying, I'm my title is head of marketing. Yeah, although that's not my formal title, because we were talking about titles and things like that. I think I'm
usually the title of your position is not the actual thing you do.
Exactly. Yes. I think within the Linux Foundation, I am a director of marketing. But I'm head of marketing for that's what I do.
Right.
And so he was like, yeah. And he said, and I was like, and it took me a second. I'm like, head of marketing. And he's like, and he said, yeah, that means like in French, that means the man or whatever. I was like,
that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Then
I think that's HOMME.
Yes, you are correct. Anyway, but then it took me to the Killers song, the man. Anyway, so yeah. But
there's the Johnny Cash version.
Yes,
Man Comes Around.
Man Comes Around.
Don't be that man.
But but you're right. Like, it shouldn't be about minions, and also like I have a problem with like the man, not even in that kind of it's just like like I don't want to I don't want to rule by fear.
Right.
I don't want to Machiavelli.
Well, that doesn't work, right? No. That's the same, in my opinion. You can disagree. You have my permission to disagree.
Thank you so much.
Sort of ruling with fear is the same, if not worse, than micromanaging.
Yeah.
Which is the penultimate terrible manager archetype, is the micromanager, I guess. But like, I mean, even if I've only ever like approached this from an entrepreneur standpoint, I'm trying to get stuff done and I'm trying to convince people how to do it. Like, that's how I've always approached. I mean, we worked together for years. Like, how do I convince these people to do in the case of us working together, how do I convince these smart dudes into doing some really weird stuff? This stuff that like, there's really no promise of making any money either. Like, that's even more risky, the things we did with the conferences and stuff. Like, hey guys, follow me. Let's do these things. And I don't know what we're doing. And I don't know if we're going to make any money. And you guys were like, cool, let's go. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, I'd like to think that I had like a plan and like, I was trying to.
No, you just didn't have a fucking plan.
No, I still don't. No, I never did. I will never say that I did. But yeah, what is that? I said in this article I found, 5 ways to increase your influence at work. It sounds kind of but the points are what I want to get.
Yeah, and also when you sent it to me and I was reading it, I was like, wow, this seems very businessy for this show. But
it is. But I think it's mostly about leadership.
Yeah.
And styles of leadership and what type of leader you are and how you lead.
I think it's more than leadership too, because we have talked before about how you can be in a leadership position without being formally,
of course,
having the formal power.
Right.
And so we've talked about power and manager versus leader and things like that too. But influence is, I was also reading it like, and as we get into it, I think that if you also associate it back to like sales, that to me these are they're not sales techniques, but it's more of a sales strategy and how you do things without being an asshole.
Yeah, I can see that.
But if you take that into your workplace and how to actually get things done with other people without, again, being a dictator or, or just letting other people drive as well, then it should be more effective is the end of this story, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're sort of pushing or dragging people along or you're micromanaging them, you're just going to get the step 1, 2, and 3 that you asked them to do.
All right.
They're just going to do that. And there you go. I mean, you finish the rest.
If you get that at all.
If you get step 1 to 3, you might just get 1 and 2. Yeah. And they might be like, that's all I got. You tell me what to do, how to do it. Like, that's not fun on the other side either. I can't imagine. I mean, I've done an episode on micromanagers, but like, I can't imagine a micromanager even has fun. Like, how is that person's life even fun? Like, even a dictator, like, how are you sleeping at night? And then when you talk to people that are like that, they're usually kind of suffering.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, that's enough of that. But like,
let's not talk about dictators right now.
But yeah, we're talking about leading with persuasion, right? So the quote they have: persuasion skills exert a far greater influence over others' behaviors than formal power structure.
Right.
It should be does. I've never heard of that person who made that quote, but I agree. I mean, I think,
I'm bringing up the article on my phone.
Convincing people to believe in what, that sounds even more manipulative. It's not even about manipulating people. It's about like, getting them to buy into your vision.
Yeah.
And want to be a part of that vision. And if you've done that, I think you like, the sky's the limit.
Well, there's a fine line between manipulation and leadership.
There is. We've talked about that before too.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah. I mean, manipulation to a degree is part of it. I mean, you go work for someone, you're entering into that agreement of like, at the end of the day, I do need to do things to get stuff from you.
Right.
And vice versa.
Well,
like I'm paying you to do things.
No, I actually, I think you're wrong. When you start to work in an organization as an employee, you're going into a relationship that's an employee to manager. You're not going into, there's nothing that says formally or informally that says that you're going into a relationship with a employee and a leader.
Right. That's true.
There's a huge distinction as we discussed before, but your contract is manager employee. Leader's a whole nother thing, and that's where influence, I think, plays in as to, like, a manager will tell you to do 1, 2, and 3, and you're supposed to do 1, 2, and 3. A leadership will say, not only do we need to do 1, 2, and 3, but to really, like, make sure that we are a force behind whatever we're doing. We've got to go beyond 1, 2, and 3. But here's why. And that is the power of influence, I think, of a leader versus a manager, is to get more out of people. And so that's why I say that there's a huge line between manipulation, for manipulation's sake, versus leadership, which is manipulation is I'm getting it out of you because I need it for me. Yeah. A manager can do that or not.
Yeah, sure.
You can still have good managers who are not good leaders. But a leader is like, I'm getting it out of you because it helps all of us.
Right.
That's what a real leader is.
Yeah. And the whole team is
going to benefit
from this. Yeah.
Right.
And therefore we all benefit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you have, God, I mean, I've been self-employed for 27 years. Kind of fries my brain a little bit.
It's almost half your life.
And I had, I had a couple of career type jobs before that, that they weren't, they were stepping stone positions, but, and then there was a stint, half a decade ago or whatever, where I tried to work in my brain with, but apparently for someone. But, you've recently, you've been self-employed, you've owned businesses, you've worked for other people, and you recently this position, and now you're in a leadership position there, and you have a lot more experience navigating everyone's sort of machination in that stream of like trying to get on top. You're part of the whole thing, and I don't have much life experience with that, so I thought you'd be a great person to bring in there. So I appreciate the perspective on that. So
keep going.
Let's go through some of these. They have 5. I was like 7 or 5. I don't know.
I only read 4, so
there's 5.
I counted. Sure.
Okay. State your intent. So one of the ways to increase influence. It sounds kind of like the title's a little smarmy, but state your intentions. So when you don't state your intentions explicitly, others are bound to create a story around it. That's just how the human mind works. Yeah. I've experienced that on the other side.
Well,
where I have like a whole plan. Calling it a plan makes it sound like I've spent more time on it than I have, but like I have a concept of a plan. I have a direction. I have a thing that I want to achieve.
All right.
And I just assume, the other people on the team they kind of know what it is and we're all on the same page. But they clearly are not. Well, after like 6 months, you're like, oh, you've been doing your own thing and I have not bothered to get you on my page. But I thought we were, but we apparently are not.
Well, break it down to something even simpler than that. It's when you get a text from somebody and I'm trying to think of like words that might mean something like, I need you to go and, pick up milk now. What is that? An angry text? Is that a pleading text?
Oh, I see.
It's the intention of like even something as simple as one sentence that comes through Slack or text message or whatever it is like, and the wording of I need you to, right. And that there's no other intentionality how do I receive it? How do I receive it? Yeah. And
that's why texting in business is just a bad idea.
No shit, but it's what
it's what we do.
It's text, but I mean, like
Slack is an entire industry built around miscommunication. Because anytime I've ever used tools like that with a team, it's just like, wow, that guy seems really pissed off, and I just asked him for something.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so I mean, think about the miscommunication that you might have with a family member.
Oh yeah,
and then translate into work into we use Slack, but
everyone that builds stuff on the internet uses Slack.
Exactly. But a lot of the companies we work with use Teams or what,
right?
And it's just like how did they mean that? But because most people, especially through text, they don't have time to send their intentionality.
Yeah.
And I would say somebody that I love very deeply may look at me and go, why are you writing such a detailed text? I'm like, because I kind of feel like somebody needs to know like why I'm sending this. Yeah. And
I don't want to take a deep dive into like tools and text, but that's kind of why they invented emojis.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
Because you're trying to convey a vibe.
Right.
But sometimes you're like,
hey, go get the milk. Bling. Hey, go get the milk, please. Like there's
good job, Punch. Like, is that good or bad?
Did you mean to be like, is this person normally an asshole?
Yeah. What does the banana mean? Yeah. I get you with the intentions. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, even in a simple, but then like if you have, things that are, more meaningful than going and getting the milk, then, like I kind of need to know what the intentions are. And so take it out of text and then bring it into like meetings or, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many, whatever it happens to be. Like, and we just went through, a couple of rounds of our quarterly planning.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to, I'm going to say this, I love my team members. Look at somebody else's slide that has like, 5 points on it, and then look at the deck that I built that says, here's everything that we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. And then here's the one slide that you get with with like the asterisks back to everything that's in my slide deck. Like, and I had to actually pull my boss into something because we were talking earlier this week. That was just earlier this week. And he was like, this should be over here. And I was like, no, it shouldn't be, because when you put that over here, it ends up screwing everything up here that I've worked very detailedly to get to.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I never said clearly what my intentions were of why I was putting that out there. And so like I kind of failed in that because I didn't say, listen, the reason this has to be here is because I need it to do this, and it runs a thread all the way through everything that I do in marketing. If you move it here and put it to this other position, everything falls apart.
Right.
And it's just that, it's context even more than
context is good too.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking about like how many meetings I've been in with like CEOs or presidents of companies, and they are asking questions and doing things, and they just seem like a giant turd. You're like, why are you being? And I'm like, why are you being such a dick? The way you're asking questions and stuff, and you can, maybe they're bad leaders because they're not. And I'm external to their organization,
right?
Like, why are you? What the hell? But like, I don't understand the intention of why they're doing things a certain way, or the context of why they're even asking the question, or what's implied behind it. Because I don't work for them. I'm trying to understand what they do.
Right.
And that's my intention, but their intention is to make sure I'm not going to fuck something up.
Yeah.
That's one too, where I don't know how many times I've been in those meetings and I'm like, a little context would probably go a long way with like what you're trying to get at.
Yeah. And it's because, like in an hour-long conversation, do I have enough time to actually tell you, contractor, here's all the plans that we have, or should I even tell you?
Yeah, is it even relevant?
Right.
But maybe your intention is relevant.
but you will. I've been in those meetings as well. Whether it's internally or to external, and like we had a member yesterday that just coming in, and we finally asked the right question yesterday that we haven't asked before, which is, what do you want to get at the end of the year?
That I was just getting at something like that. Mm-hmm. It pains me to give Greg credit.
Love you, Greg.
But one of the things he does really well is we'll have a meeting and he'll say, okay, before we start, what are we going to get out of this next hour? What's the goal?
Right. What's the intention?
Yeah. And I always hate doing that.
Uh-huh.
But he does it, and the meetings are always pretty good.
Yeah.
When we don't do that, we're like, we're going to have another meeting.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, it's a good idea.
It's and asking that one question yesterday was the first time we did it with a new member. It opened up the floodgates. Mm-hmm. And it was like, they said, and I'm going to sanitize it in my head, edit. They basically said, like, hey, we're perceived as this stodgy organization. But the truth is like, we have these incredible engineers that nobody knows that we have. And so by the end of the year, we want to make sure that in this community, your community, which is open source and finance, that, whether they are our customers or our competitors, mm-hmm. or potential customers, because it's pretty much all three, we want, your community to understand that we have incredible engineers.
Yeah.
And that's what we want at the end of the day. We don't want to sell open source.
What are we selling?
Yeah, but that was the thing. We're like, oh, you don't? And they're like, no, we want to be seen as, right. rock stars within what we do.
Right. So now everything you do and plan is through that lens of what we're trying to accomplish.
It's like
a miracle.
Oh, I mean, it was
epiphany.
I mean, and that was, on that call, we had sales, we had marketing, we had member success, we had we have a new field CTO that deals with like community and projects and things. And so, we've kind of gone around like at the end, we usually go, what do you think that they want?
Yeah.
This time it was like they said, because we set that intention of our intention.
Yeah. The intention of this meeting is to uncover these things.
Right. And here's the one question that will lead to all that. Yeah. We set that intention with that question, and then they told us what their intention is. Mm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now it's like open communication.
Yeah, now we know how to work together, and people can have ideas that help everything.
I mean, it's amazing. We have, just over 100 members now. And if I could do that with every single one of them, just to say, what's your intention?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Have you ever found that you're like, maybe I'm just dumb, but like, have you ever been in one of those meetings or whatever, and you're the one in the room and you're like, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I don't know. I mean, not technically, but like, I don't know what
time.
Like, what are they getting at? And then, but you're kind of scared to ask that question.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like let it ride for a while.
Yeah. It depends.
I've gotten to the point, maybe it's because I'm just older.
Yeah.
And now I'm like disgruntled at life, but I'm just like, the hell are we doing here? I won't ask it like that, but
sometimes
I will do that a lot faster nowadays than I used to.
I did that the other day, actually. There was something that, we were kind of milling around it and everything.
Mostly I don't want to waste my time.
Well, yeah, but I finally said, why don't we fucking why don't we ask?
Yeah.
Why don't we ask somebody what they want instead of guessing?
And I've done that. Like I've spent so much time before talking to a client trying to like interpret their message and figure out what they might be trying, instead of just being like, can we just like talk to them?
Well, I mean, go back and read the original piece from the article of setting the intentionality. No, I mean, read it out loud.
Oh, okay. Intention is one of the most powerful forces there is. What you mean when you do a thing will always determine the outcome. The law creates the world.
All right.
I think that's the one you're talking about.
I think so.
That's a good one.
I know, but there's something else I read in it too.
There's a bunch of them, man.
Back to
intentions are invisible. We assume them from other people's behavior.
Yes, exactly. And it's also Blah, 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 blah. Sorry.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Knowing that we were going to have this conversation, I went back into our old project software.
Yeah.
And I read meeting notes that you had written from like 2014 or something.
I'm glad you finally fucking read them. Go ahead. You know I'm right, motherfucker.
They were good. So you're welcome. They were good.
Thanks.
I could still get the context of like what you were talking about doing. Like, 10 years later or whatever.
That is one of my best skills, is what I've been told, is the ability to
write shit in a notepad.
Well, yeah, pretty much, but to synthesize.
Yeah, it was good.
What we were supposed to take out of it.
It was good stuff. I was actually trying to look something up from another client, but I was like, oh, it's right there. Huh. Wow. He actually wrote. I should have paid more attention to those things he was doing. Said I was a dumbass.
I love you anyway. The thing with state your intentions. When you don't state your intentions explicitly, others are bound to create a story around it. That's how the human mind works. That's what I'm saying, like from the text messages, but also like if you don't,
you're inferring intention,
right?
You're like, what did he mean?
Right. And then you walk away and everybody
doesn't like me. I'm going to get fired.
And so, the CEO walks away with like, okay, I think I know where they were going. And you walk away going,
what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Does he hate me? Yeah, this is not going to work. All right. So this other one here, adapt your style. I don't know where we'll go with this one, but I do want to say that you just said you think one of your good skills is synthesizing information. I think adapting my style in the sense of talking to people is one of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I am able to have a discussion with someone on their level. And maybe that just comes from, trying to sell people for so long, or
that, and also like
creating content for so long,
conferences will do that too.
It really does help your communication skill.
Yep.
Yeah. Because there's so many different people,
and
you have to like figure it out real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you just got to be like, you got to make some assumptions, and they need to be right. And, you just got to go from there.
When X developer, not X, the company, when X said developer comes to me during, a conference, and we start talking, and they start talking in developer speak.
Yeah.
And remember, I'm the marketing guy, but I'm supposed to understand what they're saying. Apparently,
right.
I had to do that during design and development conferences, had to do that during open source conference. Like, do I learn by actually listening to them? Yes. But, can I respond intelligently? And also, doing podcasts too. Like,
oh, dude, this really helps.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, we've been podcasting for a long time.
Yeah. Man. And you, when we turn it on, you learn how to listen to people.
Yeah, it's important too.
And then you learn how to pick up. And like the only way that I'm able to do the podcasts that I do, like, the last couple of podcasts I did, one was with the CTO, a Russian-born guy. So I'm trying to get through, but he's speaking English, and he's speaking many languages, and my dumbass is like trying to understand his, Russianized English. He was the CEO and co-founder, but now he wanted to be the CTO, and he's talking to me about things that I'm like, I'm not sure that I understand. You're really smart. I feel like Chris Farley half the time when I'm, and if you do not know,
you're like, me want wingy.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, like anybody who's under our age, go and look up Chris Farley and Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah.
So
I've done interviews like that.
You were in the Beatles, right?
It was cool.
That's cool. That's how I feel half the time when I'm talking to really intelligent people about things that they know a lot about. And so, but my job is to adapt my style and my question making to them to go, okay, sure. And so I cheat.
Yeah.
I cheat a little bit. I do a little bit of research, but B, at the beginning, before we get started, I say, what are the 3 things you want to cover? We set the intention, and I say, what are the 3 things that you want to make sure that no matter what we get back to? So as we're talking through things, and then, then if I feel like we're wrapping up in that area, then I will go, okay, but tell me, how does that relate to?
Yeah.
I mean, it's those transition things that
it is.
like, and so I've adapted my style to have that thing as something that helps me.
That's cool.
To help them to make the interview go better. And
well, the note here, appeal to interest, not intellect.
Yes.
People are driven by what benefits them. Understand what matters to them and position yourself accordingly. I mean, that's what you're explaining, but like, yeah, that's a skill.
Yeah.
Like that's a skill you have to develop because, I don't really care about some of this stuff.
No,
I've done that too, where I'm just like, I don't care about JavaScript, bro. Like, but you're going off on it. So I need to like pay attention a little bit, like
if I cared about it, then I'd be in the business with
I would be the one presenting.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. But other people care about it. And then again, within this particular podcasting world and in marketing as well. And in, anything that, has some type of client facing, you have to have somewhat of that skill in order to be successful.
100%. Speaking of skill, showcase your value without bragging.
Yeah. This is where
I struggle with that one.
This is where I started to associate it with sales. That you can take sales techniques and put it into your working world and everything. And think about the worst fucking salespeople that you've dealt with. I'm swearing a lot. I apologize to the listeners, so fuck you.
Not for children.
Yeah. Think about the worst salespeople that you just want to walk away from.
Yeah.
What are they like? They're braggadocious. They're like, look at everything. Like, everything's fucking perfect. And you need to do this because you need what I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't come off.
And that turns me off. And I immediately shut down. And
yeah, it's sales. It's not, if you're trying to like lead a team or influence others to work with you or whatever. I mean, it's like they say here, it's about credibility. Like, how do you build real credibility? I mean, one way is to just do something forever in an industry. But I mean, even then, you could be known for doing something bad forever. You know what I mean? Like, how do you build that credibility? Like, how do you become the Gandalf?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you get there?
Yeah.
So they got a couple points. One of them, don't wait for others to ask you for guidance and advice. Contribute your ideas. I think that's a good one. You have to manage how you do that. I think you don't want to be the know-it-all.
Yes.
Because you can be doling out advice and how-tos and come off as a know-it-all. Or you can tell it in a way that's like, well, let me tell you about this time I fucked something up.
Right.
That's sort of my go-to. Let me tell you about a time when something didn't go well for me.
Yeah.
These are the things that I did wrong, and this is what I would do to do it better.
Yeah.
Even, this is going to sound crazy. Sometimes I just lie. And I say that. I say I messed something up by doing it the opposite of the way that I'm trying to explain to do it. Just because I want to make that accessible, and I don't want to come off as like...
Yeah. Because I've never made that fucking mistake that you just did.
Yeah.
However, well, we can pretend for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And honestly, there's something that I have to say to somebody within the next week about how they handled a situation that, like, I was there as well, and I felt really uncomfortable, and to where I just wanted to leave the conversation. And it seemed to keep getting worse. But I also knew that, like, if I were to intercede in the moment or even in any type of group setting afterwards, things would not go well.
Right, sure.
But I also realized that I was not the only person that felt uncomfortable with it. And so then, but I also know that there's nobody else that's actually going to say something to that person. And so, like, nobody's going to help. It's up to me, because I don't want to go through that again. And so, I've got to figure out how to say without it over, like, you were really rude.
Yeah.
because then it's me coming off as being rude, even though you were the
preaching,
one that, right. To say like, hey, I even thought like, hey, you and I, didn't see eye to eye on things before.
Yeah.
And, and so when we did that, our conversations were not good. And I'm sure anybody else in the room, and I've had,
would be uncomfortable.
Yeah. I felt that.
Yeah.
With what we were doing the other day.
Yeah.
And, and that's like, so, I don't have to make that up. That was the one that I could say, like, how we felt about each other, and we figured out how to work through that. This is something that we probably need, like, is there any way that I could help you with that? Because obviously,
yeah, I mean, for sure. But, another one is, instead of limiting your contribution to one task or a certain project, expand your circle of influence, which I think it comes down to like learning how to tell stories, almost like applying your lesson that you got from something in a way that someone can intake it. That's not how you say that, but take it in to a different thing. Like, it doesn't always have to be like office politics.
Right.
You can apply. I mean, and that's what we see in like I just heard this term, the vet bro podcast complex. It's like all the special forces podcast guys, but they are applying their leadership and life lessons from like combat and stuff to like office politics.
Right.
Like that's the allure of that whole vet bro industrial complex. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, I love that term, but that's the allure of that. I mean, you can do that. You know what I mean? Like I can talk about, and I do this all the time. I talk about things I've experienced coaching classes and teaching martial arts to, other things. And I think there's good analog stories there, you know? I think it's a skill too. I think you should, your goal is to be a leader or to get a team to do something, I think you need to sort of probably have some experience like that, probably.
Yeah. Well, you have to, even if the individual experience is not relatable to somebody else because they've never been through that, like you've, I'm assuming, never jumped out of an airplane.
I don't plan to either.
But when I take you through the stories and then I say, it might feel like this to you.
For sure.
So that you can, it's not to, to placate you. It's to have you feel more of the experience and how that's related to your point of view and your real world, experience, so that, it's, not to say every experience is valid, but it's the, if you've never jumped out of an airplane, I can't describe it to you, except, have you ever been on a roller coaster?
Right.
There are, similarities there. Let's, find the similarities in order to, like,
for sure. 100%.
And, sphere of influence, to like, we're all coming from different places and we're all, everything is going to always be like that, whether it's on a, like your spouse, your kids, they don't know what I went through, your job, somebody on the street, but if you can find those commonalities, then you're going to have a larger sphere of influence on that individual person because you found commonalities, but also on multiple people as well. Because if you can, relay things to them in a way that, one, they understand where you're coming from, the intentions, to, that you can figure out a way to, so, like, back to sales. It used to be like, hey, what's the best way to, sell this dude, president or whatever. Like, you walk into the office, you look around and you go, oh, he likes fishing because there's all this fishing.
Right.
Guess who hates fishing?
Yeah.
This fucking guy. So, but my dad worked for a seafood company. I grew up in Beaufort, when I was younger. My dad lived on the lake. I have fished. I never caught a fucking fish.
Right.
And so, not for lack of trying, but it's a funny little story that I can associate. Like, I've been punched in the throat by a fish. Like, I hate fish and I don't like eating it either. However, you're a fisher.
That's funny,
man. Great. Like I can associate. I can figure out a way to associate because even though I hate it and I never want to do it again, we can figure out the commonality between each other by doing that.
Yeah.
I think there was one that you skipped as well.
There's a bunch of them.
Well, there was one that I really liked, which was breaking it down, or I think it's towards the top, if I remember correctly.
I don't know.
It is, again, on the phone, a lot slower. Adapt yourself. Maybe it was just one of the breakdowns.
Could be.
I
mean, one of the things that they pull out here is documentation. Right. Which, I mean, in an office setting, taking on the task of like, writing shit down and making sure everybody knows. That, if there's an outline to be made, fucking make it. Like, that's another way to sort of lead from the front.
Yep.
That I have not taken advantage of over the years because I'm lazy.
That's fair. That's doing the upfront work, which is
preparing.
Yeah.
Good God, I know.
Yeah. I went through a scenario today with Win. I was like, listen, I whiteboarded it while we was talking to him. I'm like, if we make this thing first, and then we make this forms and make it so that people have to do it. But I said, and explain people why we are doing this, because it does this, and it will save us, for the 1 hour it takes to post every single blog post. Every single social post. 1 hour that it takes to do a social post that's just fed to Win, and he's got to decipher everything. Like, what do I put on here? What are the, what do you want me to say? What are the points to it? Who do I need? I need to make a picture for it. I need to have hashtags. It takes him an hour to do a social post.
Yeah.
We do at least, 11 to 20 social posts a week.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
That's half of his world.
Right.
And I was like, but if we do this, this, and this, and so we make it so that it is a process. Yeah. And if we can figure out out of the 16 points that are here, what can we
pull from the other things?
What can we template? What can we automate?
Right.
Through For AI or whatever. And then,
Don't say AI on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. IA.
Well, that's a different
Iowa.
That's a different one.
Yeah. Yes, it is. But then, but we have, but I said, the thing is, we have to actually tell them why we were doing this, because it's going to save us, half an hour on an hour thing. If they were just to put these 3 things down, that's going to save us half an hour.
Yeah. Preparation is important.
Yeah.
I had a client last year who was a retired SEAL, and the little project meeting we had was interesting because he immediately started like whiteboarding and was like talking about outlines, and I was just like, I know what I'm doing, dude. But like, he wanted to make sure that he knew what I knew what I was doing, I was like, all right. I mean, it was impressive to watch him like think and plan and sort of want to do that part. And I guess that's from his training. Like, he knew, like, if we're going to go,
if you don't plan it out, you're going to fucking die potentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a website, but like, to him, it's not.
No,
it's his business.
That's right. Well, it's livelihood as well. So,
all right. So
hold on. It was target small wins.
Oh, that's the next one.
Oh, I'm just ahead of the game.
You are. It's okay though. Target small wins. What do you got to say about that one?
Okay. I was on my way back from Beaufort last night. I was listening. Okay, I watch YouTube, but I listen to YouTube when I'm driving. And one of the things, and so I was looking at prompt engineering, is one of the things I was listening to, and something that I don't feel like I've heard with prompt engineering recently is the guy was like, listen, if you put a very complex prompt out there for ChatGPT or any of them, then you think you're going to get more back.
Oh, right.
But the truth is like, if you say this, this, and this,
it's not
you're going to get a summarized version of what you wanted.
You have to talk to it.
Exactly. And it's like, so if
you have to build a relationship with that conversation.
True.
It's weird, but
it is weird, but it's how we should talk to people as well.
It kind of is.
But he's like, so take your 3 points and, go 1 point at a time. And then, then you can have it actually take, hey, can you put that in one thing and summarize it and everything and blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get small wins, within, when I've got this, again,
mm-hmm.
everybody else on the planning puts this one slide and I've got these, a full deck.
Yes.
And then again, I failed because I assumed that somebody might actually read.
No.
But then, then when we were going back through and I was going with my boss, I was like, hey, just look at this one thing right here. And I was like, it was a funnel of awareness on, whatever, and how we would do different types of content based on where somebody was in the awareness level, 5 different awareness levels. And, and so first I had to explain the concept of awareness levels within a funnel to him, not because he doesn't understand these things. It's just like, this is, marketingese type thing.
Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Right. And when we talk about funnels, I taught them, last year, tofu, mofu, bofu, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Now I'm taking them through, but there's also another, there's multiple layers, but there's these layers. So I had to take them through there, have a small win there. And then I actually put it in a, do I say it? Yes, I do. The example I use on awareness was when somebody doesn't know that they have a leak in their house. Then you go down to somebody's aware that they have a leak, but don't know what to do about it. Then they figure out there are solutions out there, but I don't know how to solution it best. Then down to, I think I might talk to a plumber about it, down to I'm going to talk to the specific plumber and they are going to, but here are the different things that they might be able to do and what am I willing to pay for?
Down to I'm giving them money.
Right. Yeah. So yes. And, but the awesome thing is like what went through my head when I was giving him this example is that he's Italian and all that was going through my head was, Mario, Luigi, so, and if he listens to this, and I hope somebody points him to it, he knows
that's
that.
Funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But I had that.
You're Italian. I'm using a plumber analogy.
Awesome.
I'm surprised you didn't get pissed.
No. Yeah. If I would have started using the Mario and Luigi in there, then that would have been fun. So,
but buddy,
but I had that small win.
Yeah.
By just explaining the concept, and then the next win was being able to say, okay, so here's how it associates to this particular strategic initiative.
Are how we attack each
and
line.
boom, down to, do you see how at the bottom, how it's, it's very granular. Like we do a case study down here versus we do a blog post and social post at the high level. And he's like, and
now I see the value in all the shit
and this is what I was talking about, like earlier with like, that was the thing that like we were talking about having strategy, in marketing over here. And I was like, but this is why if you take the strategy out of this, then everything that we're working towards here falls apart. And he's like, now I get where you're coming from. Small little wins, even if that's
actually a big win in the end of it.
It's a huge fucking win.
Yeah.
And
now he's on your side.
Right. And so, and I had to, and you do this in sales as well, right? You kind of have closings.
Yes.
You have mini closings in order to get to the big closing.
Yeah, you're just overcoming disagreements. Yeah,
right,
for sure.
And you have, can we agree on this? Talk. Can we agree on this? Yes. Talk. Can we agree on this? Yeah. Yes. And then finally, you're like, you've said yes to everything that we've agreed on.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we going forward or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so small wins are fucking huge. And in fact, now can I read?
You can read anytime you want.
Oh, where's the camera?
right there.
I got shout out to my mother-in-law, which I don't think I've done that on this.
Yeah, hold it up in front of the Yeah, there you go.
This is a book called The Wealth That Money Can't Buy. And it's by Robin Sharma.
Okay.
And the first one I got, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But Tupac Chopra, my oh wait, no, that's Deepak. I love Deepak Chopra. I've read a bunch of his books. There's still one thing to this day that every time, like I'm not every time, but if I'm driving and I'm by myself for a while, and then I'll start to look around, and there was something that he said in one of his books was like, if you look around, I think it was while you're driving, and look at the dashboard versus everything else that's out there as it's moving. Those are all made out of the tiniest fucking things in the world called atoms. And just think about in this one microphone, how many atoms are in it. It's one of those things you're like, fuck. Anyway,
it's a bunch. Yeah.
But he endorsed this book. So I looked at it, and what it is like, it's short chapters. And I think I told you too, like, he's not saying that you should live on, happiness alone. He said, money's not that bad of a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah, and it does make things easier. But he said this thing that I think goes back to, I know exactly what you're going to say afterwards. Sorry. Ruffling the pages. Small, daily, seemingly insignificant improvements, when done consistently over time, lead to stunning results.
Agree.
And it is what in your world?
Agree. Not necessarily my world, but it's Kaizen. Yeah. 1% better every day.
Yeah.
Mark Devine, Coach Devine, introduced me to that concept at the same time that we were hanging out back in the day. You remember watching those SEALFIT videos?
Dude.
Over and over. Just standing there on the big screen watching them.
Well, it was you and me while everybody else was off.
Yeah. It was like Thanksgiving or something.
It was Christmas. Or, yeah. And we were the only two people there. Yeah,
we're just watching these, learning about the stuff. But yeah, it's just a little bit every day. I mean, then that's what's the overall topic? Target small wins. Yeah, I mean, that's what we coach in the gym. That's what we coach in martial arts. I mean, you're not gonna be a black belt overnight. I mean, it takes many years, and you start here.
Yeah.
And you just build and build and build. I mean, everything's like that.
Well, and also, sphere of influence, back to the influence.
Your sphere of influence is like that too.
It does not happen automatically. No. And that's why I say that, you walk into an employee manager relationship. Well, not only am I not going to get a leader right off the bat.
You're not. Yeah, for sure.
But, on the other side is the employee, like you've been valued to this point in order to get hired. But the more that you continue to show in small little wins, how valuable you are.
For sure, man.
Then that builds up to, whether it's on a yearly basis, getting promoted, or even just like I trust you to go ahead and do that thing by yourself because, like I get where you're going.
Well, how about the next one here? Invest in building relationships. Building a relationship. I mean, just having them like you.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can't, like, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was one of the things, and I will tell you of us working together. What the hell year was that? Was last year?
We started in 2011.
Okay, I'm just gonna
say 2011 until like 2016.
I don't know. I'm just gonna say 2011.
Yeah.
So like, we worked out together.
Yep.
We went on adventures together.
Yep.
We traveled to these conferences together. We spent like 8 hours a day to get but we also, I wanted to do other things as well. Like I wanted us to be friends in work. And I will say the one of us that didn't take part of those things, all of our relationships suffered with that person.
Yep. And
I will say that it's not because we didn't include that person, nor did we not, how do I say that? It wasn't like we're the group that works out. You can't talk to us. I mean, we still were very inviting, even on an individual basis. But because we didn't participate in all those points with that one person, the relationship suffered. To the point where, we wouldn't do anything that person said. You know what I mean?
Pretty much.
But I don't think it was just personality alone. I mean, I think like you gotta invest the time.
Well, and
it wasn't what's the word? Reciprocal.
Right.
You know,
it wasn't bilateral.
Yeah, we weren't getting it back.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like,
if that's not your thing, that's cool.
Yeah.
But let's figure out how we, again, back to the, how can we draw from different experiences to get the same understanding? And, like, I mean, my middle daughter and I like to run. Okay, I take that back. She likes to run. I run because I know that I should, and it's good for me. And my wife hates to run. Now,
okay,
with 3 different ways of understanding, the 3 of us will go to a race, and my middle child will win. I'm happy to finish in a decent time. And my wife is there at the end, and she's happy, for both of us. And we all have this level of understanding with each other that we're able to participate in the same event, but in different ways,
different levels. Yeah,
and
for sure.
and of understanding and awareness and interest in it as well.
Right, for sure.
She's interested in us.
Yeah, she wants to spend time with you.
Right, and
your daughter's interested in winning the damn race.
Right. And I'm interested
in want to get better than you were last time.
Exactly.
See, I know you from.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been failing in that recently, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
But they write here, people are more likely to engage with you when they feel a positive connection built using shared values, trust, and mutual respect. Right. And then they have the thing like you can't force or fake your way into it.
Well,
manipulating others to like you, they'll eventually figure that shit out.
That's why I hate forced fun functions at work and things like that. No matter what.
I know their intent is this, but it ain't gonna work.
Right. And because like also think about this too. Like if we are in a working situation and you have somebody who's not getting their shit done, but then I want to go and hang out with everybody. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
You can't force the fun on me when the problem isn't fixed.
Yeah,
and
you can't address everyone.
No,
that bothers me too.
No.
When I've experienced that in some of my short stints at other places. It's like, well, Bill sucks, but you're talking to all of us like we suck.
Yeah,
I don't suck.
Yeah,
it's him. Can we just go talk to Bill?
Yeah,
like that. From a leadership standpoint, will shoot you in the foot, man. Yeah. You think you're being like, doing the right HR thing or whatever, but man, it don't work.
Yeah.
It don't work.
My wife is in different things that were around children activity organizations. Like they put out something that or even schools or whatever, we've got this new policy because we've had some children being
It's like 2 kids.
And or one.
Or one.
Or one. And you're like, wait, what the so now my child, has to follow something.
I know. Can you just go tell the one kid to go away? Like you can.
Or maybe you should talk to that kid's parents.
Yeah, you can totally do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, no, it's yes, you should be building the
It's like very obvious. It's like, hey, you should care about people and then they'll care about you. That's a good idea.
Why the fuck are we even doing this podcast?
No, but it's like, wow.
It's all common sense. But the thing is, it's not common sense. Otherwise, nobody would write about it.
Right.
Nobody would talk about it. It wouldn't.
Well,
you wouldn't have to have
common sense shit that we never do.
Right.
I mean, plan for a meeting, bro. No. And the meeting goes bad and you're like, what went wrong? It's like, well,
I don't know.
Like taken 5 minutes and read the damn email. It's simple shit like that, man.
I don't know when to bring this into but
that's it. We're kind of through the whole article there, but so whatever you got.
I was thinking too with building relationships. I can't tell yet, but I was listening to a song last night. I was listening actually to the Stranger Things soundtrack from season 4. Okay, did you watch Stranger
I know
Things?
what the show is, but I can't specifically remember the music from seasons.
So one of the things they did, I think, is whatever the last season was before this last season that's coming up.
What is the season anymore anyway? They have like, this is the season, but it's like half the thing, and it's like it's 4.2 or whatever. And you're like, what the fuck?
Okay, Well, it's whatever Netflix says.
I'm just confused.
I know. I understand. Like, is it a half season or a season, or you just got bored and decided like, let's break it up, or this is the way to keep us on the platform?
And how did the characters age 14 years in between 2 years of the story?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's going to happen, I think, this season for sure on Stranger Things, which is the last season. But when they came out with the season a couple of years ago, they had Journey Separate Ways.
Ooh, okay.
But they did like this weird, like demonic almost version of it. It's really, cool. Really cool. And like to the point to where, you know, my kids who are watching Stranger Things,
they're like, who's Journey?
Yeah, you know, and like I remember
coming back, the best album covers.
Yes, and as far as I know, it could be one of the only bands ever to have their own video game on Atari.
Probably, yeah. Well, on Atari for sure.
On Atari for sure. Yes. So
anyway. That's just from those album covers alone.
Yes. And actually it was that spaceship or whatever. Anyway.
The bug ship.
Yep. So but I was like listening to some like oldies station in Beaufort, which, you know, it was playing things, and it was like not Stranger Things, Separate Ways.
It's the actual song.
It was the actual song. And then I was like, oh yeah, you know, like I remember this version. And then like I got it on Apple Music and started listening to it. And I'm like, there's a whole soundtrack, and started going through the soundtrack. One of the songs, long fucking way to get here. One of the songs.
That's our life, dude.
Exactly. Especially your life with me. It reminded me of communication skills and actually relationship building and things that I'm like, it's going to be like a party game every single time, whether it's at work or at home or anything like that. I'm just going to say this one word, either to myself or to my team or to somebody else, and they're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. But see if you can guess the song. You start a conversation when you can't even finish it. You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. When I have nothing to say, my lips are sealed. Say something once, why say it again?
It's on the tip of my head, man. Oh, wait, that's not how you say that. The tip of my brain.
Yeah. You start a conversation, you can't even finish it.
Yeah.
You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. When I have nothing to say, my lips are sealed. Say something once, I say it again. Yeah. Psycho killer.
Yes.
Kiss say.
Yes.
Anyway, like, so it's going to be my new drinking game, which is, I'm just going to call it Psycho Killer. But it's and I'm guilty of it as well.
Yeah.
But say something once, why say it again?
Yeah.
And especially like people that continually say the same thing over and over again and say, you know, like there, you know, no further context to it, further, but it's just like, you can't relationship build off of somebody who's stuck on this one thing.
Yep.
And I would say that may be something that I feel that is missing from this article, which is, or maybe it's a summation of things like you have to round out what you're saying so that if somebody doesn't get it, maybe you do say the same thing, but you have to, again, that's where I go back into
I've literally said, someone, I do this a lot. They'll say something and I'll be like, can you do that again where I understand it? You probably heard me say that. You can explain that again where I understand it. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
They're usually like, oh, you're a dumbass. Let me start over.
Yeah, but
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, but that is totally valid.
I think so.
And like, I am not understanding.
My ego is not big enough to pretend like I know what you're saying when I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's really dangerous.
And we do that a lot. And again, that goes back to the, like, you had two different directions after a meeting. You're like,
not good. Yeah.
I understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But do I understand what they meant?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. If your goal is actual leadership, yeah, you know, sometimes leaders want to obfuscate things just for like whatever strategic reason they have. But
yeah,
that's a different podcast.
That is a different podcast. Anyway,
man, that was good. That was a good conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I knew you'd bring some unique perspective.
Unique what?
from from the open source world.